So it's an exciting day today. Finished all the cleanup and all the dismantling of the engine, and we're almost ready to rebuild. But we're here today at Classic Car Solutions at Gibraltar Farm near Harpenden in the UK, where we're going to measure up our entire engine and try and blueprint it, so understand exactly where all the tolerances are and everything else. And we're here today, we're going to be working with Nathan, who under that MGB at the moment. He's under the hood in there, so you can't quite see him, but we're going to be working with him and he's going to help us do all that. He's an engine builder by trade. I don't know whether you can see it just there upstairs. There's a 500D which is in restoration at the moment by the owner here, Aaron. They've allowed me to record here today to give you the insight onto everything we're doing. So yeah, can't wait. Very excited about this part of the build.
They're saying they'll normally give you an instruction, but you're normally measuring about 6 mil up from the base.
Yeah.
So somewhere around there.
Yeah, I think in the manual it talks about measuring at the top and the bottom more.
Okay, we'll see what the variation is. So 2.754.
What's the other one?
Same again.
Oh, okay.
2.754.
Well, that's a good start.
Yeah.
Some consistency. So Nathan's measuring everything in imperial here, which is inches, and what we're also doing is measuring everything blind. That means we are not currently looking at the manual as to what the measurements should be. We're measuring everything first so that we don't get influenced by the measurements from the book.
So I'm zeroing off the gauge at 2.750, which will give us our next reading. Kind of looking for nice and parallel the whole way up.
Yeah.
I don't know if
yeah.
So that's 7 passes 0. It's zeroed on 2.750.
Right.
So they're nice and parallel the whole way down.
So what does that make them? 2.75?
7. So
which you'd expect it to be slightly larger.
Yes. 6.5 to 7. Oh, pickles. I read this wrong.
And this is inches, right?
Yeah. Can get into the world where we over measure things.
Yeah.
You know, you find tenths of a thou here and there.
Yeah.
It's just so the clearance is 0.003 thou on both of them, 4/7, yeah. Which is, it is what it is. Seems that would be about right to me.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So this side for the second. We'll run through your crankshaft. So one's at the front and you're going to be on 1 to 2, I'm guessing. Yep. Which I have here. I mean, pretty much all of my gauging is used stuff from people's sheds and car boot sales. I think I brought that one. The woman was selling it as a G-clamp. 50p.
But they still operate well.
Yeah, I mean we've got all the tooling to calibrate them.
Right, okay.
And make sure they're right. But if something's 60 years old and it don't go wrong, it's not going to go wrong in a hurry.
That's good to know. I'll look out for stuff that...
Oh yeah, I get no end of stuff from boot sales and job lots, and dig to the bottom of those buckets you see at the car boot sale. So big end. 1.733.
That was cylinder one, was it?
Yeah. Yes, same again.
Okay. Good consistency. And they look clean enough, do they?
Yeah, I mean we'd probably recommend sending that off and having a polish done.
Would you? Okay.
Yeah, but we'll have to get the sizes sorted first. Make sure everything else is right. Another thing that, I don't know if the book goes into it, but I technically meant to pop these out.
Okay.
I think that's what the book's going to tell you, yeah. Because essentially that is a gravity trap.
Right.
Because of the way the oils go.
Yeah.
So, like, centrifugically traps detritus.
How would you do that?
Unpeen them and pop them out.
Right.
I'm guessing the manual might go into that, and if they're available new, then that would be the first step.
Right, okay.
Yeah, because they essentially will be, I think you'll be looking at a, depending on what's available, but I could be wrong here, but typically be something.
I've cleaned this twice and I've just realised that's
okay.
building.
There'll probably be something like this.
Okay.
Like a dome core plug. You put in and hammer in there. See what's available on the site.
Look. There you go, crankcase plugs, aluminium.
Okay, cool.
So,
yeah. Sorry, what were they? No, those are crankcase plugs, so they'll be these ones.
Oh yeah,
which we also should be doing.
Sorry. You should change those as well, should you?
Yeah, you should knock them out for cleaning.
Well, they don't. Apparently, you have to weld them in.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, okay, got ya. If we can get to, oh no, we'll be right there. Yeah, if something is a blind hole, it's very different. But we will be.
Here we go. Crankshaft metal core plug.
Yeah, that's them.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, chuck those in the basket.
Cheap to buy, but expensive to stick. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, how far we go is entirely up to you, but we'll always plan around best practice.
Okay.
We'll advise on best practice.
Yes.
And it's the same with these ones here. We'll normally pop these out and replace them, so that when you clean, because you've got a blind hole here.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So without being able to physically put a brush to the end of this, I've got no way of knowing it's clean.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's sort of industry standard. And saying that, I'm very fussy on cleanliness.
Right.
And not everyone is.
I want it to be a nice engine.
Yeah. I mean, contamination's probably one of the biggest causes of issues we get around here, in this industry, especially once things have been machined. So I'm back on the 223.
So this is front bearing, is it?
Yeah, front main. Sorry, 2.125 on number one. Little variation, but we'll call it the same. We won't go into tenths on this one. No, we will actually. 2.125 and then a small 5 following the 5, so 5/10 of a thou after the
Okay.
2. Cool. So that's those numbers. Right, we'll do your con rods now. We'll check the clearance of those. Helicoiling and stuff, yeah. Not that you reuse these, but I'm just going to number the nonetheless.
So as we're working, Nathan's taking the components off to the side and is engraving them. He's engraving them with either a 1 or 2 to indicate which cylinder they belong to, and that's each an individual component he's doing that on. He's doing that in places where it won't affect the engine build at all or the purpose of the part. You'll notice here that we got the con rods with the old pistons on. The new ones are the ones we measured earlier.
Standard. Right, unfortunately my snap-on pliers are downstairs, so I'm going to have to...
They're different. They're a different circlip from the ones I've got with the kit. Are they okay to reuse?
Yeah, where's the winter new kit?
They're just more of a C.
Okay, snap ring. Yeah, I probably got that in stock. Yeah, I'd probably prefer... We'll use the ones that came with the piston kit.
Okay.
Ideally. Chances are I'm going to have some in the drawer sitting right behind you. Often they won't come out because there's a little burr there where the circlip's been sitting.
Should we just knock them through, or?
Yeah, but just in the process. Sometimes a burr can turn into a gall quite quickly. And do you know the torque settings on these big ends?
Yes, they're in the book.
Cool. Do you want to dig that setting out?
Yeah,
and we'll
sure.
see, because I'll get the right torque wrench and we'll torque them up and we'll check your
Connecting big end cap.
Yep, that's all right. So everyone will do things subtly different.
I'm aware of that.
And there's always someone on the internet who's going to tell you they do it wrong. Every single time. Particularly in this industry. The old pistons to the side, can't we?
Sorry, do you want me to take that piston?
Right, so yeah, we'll get rid of those.
Thank you.
Way.
Must be a lot easier to work on than like a V6 or a V8.
Yeah, V12s are the one. 12, 24, 48 of everything.
Yeah, they just basically fall out almost.
Yeah, you always try and roll them. You've got your tang here?
Yeah, yeah.
Try and roll them that way.
Okay.
Because then you can burr the tang otherwise. Yeah, whether we go to a new set of shells or not, is irrelevant at this point. Let's just go through the processes of measuring. I mean, the argument I'm not reusing is that oil acidity breaks them down over a period of time.
Okay.
But, okay, so these are Federal Mogul, the FM on there.
Okay.
So it's a good brand.
Okay.
Yeah. So bearing mic. Micrometer there with a ball end on it.
Oh, right, cool.
So that is for checking bearing thickness.
Because of its roundness.
Yeah, so they'll give you a thickness that you can cross-reference on.
But the ball is because it's round.
Yeah, precisely. So 0.6, 1.5. Sorry, 0.60 and a half. I do this quite a bit.
Measure things and then measure it again and go, oh, that doesn't look the same. I'm just
going to have to do it at the column there.
Consistent across.
So I'll go into that in a sec. 60 and 8/10. So you'll actually find the bearing is not completely round. Because on the side here you get it's a different measurement already.
Right. I mean, but across the.
But this is the one to measure. Yeah. So those are what they are essentially.
Okay. Yeah.
The thing we do before.
Obviously, I haven't cleaned that bit.
That's right. We'll go through a quick little clean on these in a second, but
okay.
Right. So new gudgeons. Very controversially for the market, so we don't mix up the order. File.
Yeah.
Number one.
It's satisfying taking it out of the packet.
Yeah. You've always got a layer of a preservative on them. So, I mean, by the book, you need small end bushers.
Need what, sorry?
The bushers in here are done.
Okay.
Because, so there's just a little bit of play in them.
Yeah.
So on a new thing, they should sort of hold their own weight and fall through slowly.
Right, okay.
They will be available, and that's something that a machine shop should do.
Okay.
So this one's a little bit tighter, but I suspect that's a carbon problem. Thank you, mate.
Nathan spends the next 5-10 minutes meticulously cleaning the con rods, first in a parts washer. Even though I've done this before, he has far better equipment than I do, and then he's just using some very, very fine kind of paper just to clean the inside of the con rods, and he does this across all the different pieces until it's looking really, really clean and nice.
Yeah.
A lot of people with cheaper stuff that
I've not seen this. What's this? Assembly?
it's like a torque lube.
Okay.
Most people would use oil in this situation, but it's just more accurate. So it stops your torsional, like frictional losses when you're trying to torque.
Okay.
You just get more accurate results. technically you should lower the torque setting by using this, as in these settings were designed around an oil, but I'm not going to go that far. Yeah, the brand of that is ARP. ARP is probably the world's leading fastener manufacturer. You know, they make all these upgraded stud kits and things like that. So it's designed by a specialist company. So we were 24 foot-pounds, which is 27 Newton meters.
Quite low force, aren't they?
Yeah.
You think, see, you have to do it to a specified torque.
Yeah.
You think that it would end up, it's because you have to do it really tight, but often it's not.
No, it's a very small bolt. You know, they've done the science on it. So all fasteners have you're technically stretching them to their elastic stage.
Yes, I was watching a podcast about that.
Yeah.
I've been doing one of these. Have you heard of High Performance Academy?
Oh, someone was telling me about this, yeah.
Yeah, I've been watching stuff on that. They did a really, really interesting one on porting.
Okay.
By a specialist porter in the US.
Okay.
Nathan's first measuring the con rods with their shells out, and at this moment he's just using an internal diameter gauge to get a sense of what bore gauge size he will need.
Don't care. You show up, you don't haggle them. It's come from their grandfather and they just want it to go to a good home.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're looking for nice and round here.
Yeah. So what, you're zeroing it and then just checking it?
Yeah, checking its way around. So we're pretty good. What that number is, we'll find out in a second.
Okay.
And the 0. That one's exactly the same.
That's good.
Nice and round. You know, thou here and there, but because they don't locate perfectly on the conrod bolt, you do get a little bit of variation between here and here.
Right.
And here and here. But that's on the 2 and the 0. The
bought myself a little engine stand and I bought myself a little head stand. And
okay.
Stuff, so try and keep it all nice.
Yeah, you just end up struggling without the right stuff, don't you?
Yeah, but then you end up struggling to store them on the right stuff.
Yeah, true.
6 of one, half dozen of the other. There's no point in getting the head skimmed and then sitting it on something that's just going to ruin it.
Correct. I mean, I came from a machine shop environment, and the amount of time you'll skim something and then somebody will throw it straight in the back of their car and scratch it.
Yeah.
It's infuriating.
So this time we're doing the same measurement, but hopefully you can see that the shells, the bearing shells, are now in the big end of the conrod. So again, we're using internal diameter gauge and then a bore gauge, and Nathan's just setting up the bore gauge correctly now to take that measurement.
I'd rather have a small little nick in its layer, which is completely inconsequential, than not measure something.
Now this is bore gauge is a little complex piece.
Yeah.
2 ends to it.
Yeah, it's missing some bits.
Is
They
that
should all be.
Is that an extender?
Yes, they all should be sort of laid out in order there. I got it as a partial set. It's extremely accurate, so I just put up with its flaws. Genuine Old English brand,
Mercer.
not replicatable.
Were they both the same as well?
There's half a thou in it, which we're not going to get too carried away with. 1 second, I will get this first measurement up. We are. Oh, I just wrote some numbers wrong here. I do that quite a lot. Didn't add a 1. So 1. Sorry. So this last number I gave you, the big end with no shell,
Was 1 point.
yeah, 1.816 and 2/10. This one here is 1.834 and 7/10.
Okay.
And the next, well, that's number 1, correct? And the next one is a half a thou up on that, so that's 1.835 and 2/10. So now we will crunch that number between your crank big end. So clearance which is your running clearance.
So what's that? The
33.
1.733.
Yeah. Hang on, so I wrote down an 8 again, but that's not right, it's a 7. I do that quite a bit. Numerical dyslexia. But the numbers flash up quite quickly. You know?
Okay, yeah.
It's not a problem writing down a number wrong if you pick up on it. So that makes your clearance 1.001 and 7/10 on number 1 and 0.00 2 and 2/10. So
That seems very fine. I don't know whether that's good or not.
yeah, I mean, to give you an idea, that's thinner than the thickness of one of your hairs.
Yeah.
So there's not much. So I wouldn't say there's much wrong with that running clearance. I suspect this mark on the shell. So I've got some very, very fine wire wool here. Sometimes you know, some people say that cleanliness.
Into a dusty garage.
Yeah. I mean, a big part of the cleaning is looking.
Yeah.
You know, if you're individually cleaned every item, as you did with your crankcase,
Yeah.
if there's a crack in that, you're going to know about it.
Yeah.
If you just dump it in a hot wash, you never actually looked at things.
Yeah.
So that's the old school way. Well, this is also very controversial, a bit of wire wool. People get upset about that one. As you can see, you've got these very small marks in there
from the
gauging.
Yeah.
Completely inconsequential in my opinion.
Yeah. Okay.
And there is too many of a very happy engine rebuild running around with those marks inconsequentially.
Yeah. Okay.
So
And what about that little sheen then? Oh, is that inconsequential on the cylinder?
I'm gonna say yeah. Yeah, so this is
I can't feel it.
I can't feel it. This shows up as a contamination issue.
Yeah.
So something's just gone through there.
Yeah.
That is the.
There was quite a lot of heavy sediment in the sump.
And these things don't run a filter.
And actually, when
Oh, was it grey sediment?
yeah.
Okay, so that predates leaded fuel.
Okay.
So that's lead.
Oh right. Okay.
So if you've got that grey layer at the bottom, that is lead.
Right. Okay.
And it would be the same in your front pulley. If you get the grey stuff, you know,
Oh, yeah.
That's what it's designed for, because the lead is heavier than everything. So a lot of this stuff, like these pigs in here, it's all centrifugal.
Yeah.
Because when you had the lead, it's so heavy that it goes to those places.
I cleaned this, blew air through it, blew brake cleaner through it, all kinds of stuff, and it still kept leaking that kind of grey stuff.
It will do. It will
and that's
do.
why I should do those.
Yes, precisely. And we have all of the small brushes.
The machine shop would do that, would it?
We'll do that here.
Oh, right, okay.
We can do that here.
And these, you mentioned getting these polished.
So T&L will also do that for you.
So polished
crankshaft.
And that won't affect the
sizing. No, it's a micro polish. We're talking microns there. Step of things, haven't we? So let's just summarise what we've got here, whilst we can put some things away again.
Do you not want to measure the piston rings of those?
It would be a good time to do it. Yeah, thanks for pointing that out.
Oh, that's all right.
Right, so. Right, so rings. I'm going to do another column here. Rings. Yeah, I'd typically do this just before assembly, but it's neither here nor there.
Yeah, okay. We're not doing anything with them before or after.
Top, second, oil, and I also keep a record of what we are. Numbers are always up, as you can see.
The numbers of what? Oh, on the actual rings?
Yeah. So there's a description.
There's a whole website for this company. Like you scan it and they show you all the kind of engineering details and everything.
Yeah. The Neural's pretty good. Bit old school, but. Right, so we have a step. And up. So second ring is step out down.
What are you looking at there, sorry?
1 second. So
oh, that's strong.
So you step here. So you've got a bevel there.
Oh yeah.
So the old school rule: if it's in, it's up. If it's out, it's down. The step, yeah. So one of the guys who I served under as an apprentice, he told me, think of it like having sex. He goes, if it's in, it's up. If it's out, it's down. That's how you remember which way piston rings go. So that's got to step in, and it's going up.
Right. Okay.
So it ties up. As with this one, number 2,
it's got one of the chamfer at the bottom.
Yeah, and it's down.
Okay.
So the step is on the outside, and it's down.
Yeah. Okay.
And up, out, down. Royal. So for the purposes of all of this, we're going to leave your rings off for now. So we'll just keep them in order in a bag. But we have a record of where everything goes.
Yeah. I've got a piston ring thing at home that I can put them in back in on the
Okay.
comes to assembly, so I can break them as I do it.
Yeah. So that's going to be 1 and that's going to be 2. Right, let's get those out of the way somewhere.
Do you want me to put them back in the box?
Yeah, we've done all of our checks on those. What we will have to do before they go to the machine shop is drop those shells back out of them and re-torque them so that he can do his alignment check up there. As said, we prep everything, we give him an instruction list, make it easy for him.
Yeah.
He likes that. Okay, so that's going to work. Technically that should be squared.
Right, yeah.
Once again, that is a controversial one because you could have a stepping tool that sets it so that it's perfectly and very repeatable, but with enough of a step there, that's okay for what we're doing. I am going to have to go down and grab a set of blades.
Yeah, do that.
at the moment everything's seeming within spec.
Yeah.
Nathan takes each of the piston rings in turn and pushes them down into the cylinder using the piston head inverted to a depth of probably around an inch, just around where the gudgeon pin goes into the actual piston itself. And then using a feeler gauge, he measures the piston end gap, which is the gap between the two ends of the piston ring. And so he's just using a feeler gauge to do that work, and then he makes a record of each of them. Now these pistons only have 3 piston rings because they are a performance part and much newer than the older type that you get, and therefore also the gaps on these rings are non-standard as well. So while we're making a record of them, we don't really have anything to compare them to. And next we go on to the main bearings, so the rear main bearing and the front main bearing.
Yeah, some would argue that we should check these clearances with these tightens to the crankcase.
Right.
But on assembly there's a final couple of checks we'll be doing.
Okay.
Yeah, to confirm those sorts of things. You'll notice a theme that we measure and then measure again.
Yeah. That's quite, well, I don't know whether it's scored or...
Yeah, it's not perfect.
You can just buy replacement units.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll run through the numbers on them. And we'll go from there. Right, so once again, there's 0, checking that it's nice and even, which it is. Once again, controversially, because it leaves small marks on the bearings.
Yeah.
Two different sizes. So let's start with you. You're on the 0 and the between the 7 and the 8. So number 1 main,
Yeah.
2.126 and 8/10. So let's say that again. 2.126 and a small 8/10 of a thou.
Okay, that's the rear.
No, sorry, that's the front.
Oh, front, yeah.
Yeah, number 1. So 2, this is number 2.
Yeah.
0.128 and 5/10, so 8.5. So clearance, going by the crankshaft main.
So the front was 2.125.
Yeah. So that's 1 8/10 on number 1. 0.001 and then a small 8 on number 1. And number 2, 3 thou, 0.003, which is not. We'll give you the numbers and you can check your book spec and tie that up, and we can decide then. And we'll get this out. When we will check the.
Interestingly, they call it chain end and flywheel end.
Okay, it's nice and simple, isn't it? Yeah, I think we get a bit. I mean, in traditional front engine rear drive cars, front and rear 1 to 4, 1 to 6.
It's within tolerance.
Okay. So I'm just going to give it a little scotch. I mean, these things don't do huge mileage anyway, and they're not the longest lasting of engines.
I'd be lucky if I did 500 miles a year.
Yeah. So it's a debatable one, you know. Like some people say, just put new everything. But what are you putting in new?
Well, there's a cost.
Where does it come from? It's a cost. And a lot of other engine builds that you'd be doing for a general passenger car, it's expected to do 100,000 miles.
Yeah.
So in that case, you take less chances and maybe put more new stuff in there.
Yeah.
But these things, I mean, the best one of these engines in the world would never last 100,000 miles.
No.
So
no one would buy it if you did.
yeah, precisely. The same as old Beetles and things like that. You know, they just don't. Some would argue, but they don't get that high mileage. So I'm not seeing if it's within spec.
A bit better now.
Yeah, it's in spec. It's been doing its job. So I'd probably leave it alone.
Yeah.
So that's number 1.
Yep.
And that's the rear one. So you'll be replacing that seal, obviously, won't you?
Yeah.
Cool.
Got it in the kit here somewhere.
Okay. So
how would you generally put those in? Would you just get something slightly oversized and just gently tap it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, precisely. I mean, we've got a range of special round tools for fitting all of that sort of stuff. So if it's something, if you don't have something the right size, we've got everything here to do all of that sort of stuff. Yeah,
I'm sure, like an old
a socket or a bearing punch or a thing.
Yeah, an old bearing or case or something like that.
Yeah, I mean we're going to grab on the journals, always grabbing on something. You know, we wouldn't grip on.
Yeah.
So you'll see referred to in the book about crankshaft end float.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's control. You know, it's normally around 2 thou-ish, depending on what they said.
That.
So that's sort of all held in by this doodacky here.
Yeah.
And then your chain goes on.
Down.
Is that the chain? And then the
there's a sprocket that goes on. One of these will go on there. I think it's the big one.
Yeah.
Goes on here. The chain runs in these grooves.
Ah, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So it's possibly that one first then.
No, that one goes on the crank. Sorry, the cam.
Ah, yeah, of course, 2 to 1.
Yeah.
No, other way. That's the cam. That's the crank.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because the cam does half the of the turns of that.
Yeah, you're right, because that's the width of the chain, right? So yeah.
So then that is dictated, the end float. This is something we do when we assemble, and we have this in the thing.
Yeah.
The book will go into the order a little bit more, but then you will be able to, if needed, unlikely, buy different sized
rings.
Yeah. To manage that, which is probably that one.
The end float is the kind of gap there, is it? Between how much it moves backwards and forwards.
Backwards and forwards, precisely. Yeah, it's got to have some. It can't have too much. Any questions? Yeah, you can just. They will need, when they take it in, they will need the gudgeon pins to do the conrods.
Yes.
Because they're going to fit.
Gudgeon pins are the. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I know what those are.
Yeah. I mean, we could be fitting the bushes here, and then you take them up to them, but.
I might as well have one-stop shop.
Yeah. Okay, this is your cam timing specs and tappets. It's all in Italian, but it's simple enough. You get to know.
So it's a 3070, is it?
Yeah. So it's
what do those numbers mean?
Symmetrical cam. So punta muerte. That's what that means.
Right.
That means top dead.
Okay.
Punta and muerte, top dead. It's a top dead centre on the piston.
Okay.
The reason I know that.
The cam is graduated 30 degrees at the top and 70 degrees at the bottom.
Yeah.
Okay.
So intake opens. So I know a little bit of Spanish, but also just dealing with Ferraris.
Right.
Yeah, it's close. So that's your overlap. So we're checking it with dial gauges. It's a similar version to this once you've got the crank in. Yeah, it's a symmetrical, so
Would you need to check it, or
you should.
okay?
Yeah.
What, check that these numbers actually match up to the load there?
Yeah. Yeah, so when you get a bit further down into that stage...
How do you do that? With the lift of the tappet, or...?
Yeah. So, it's a bit of a tough one to explain without... Ooh, this is nice, isn't it? Ooh, got a bit of a mark on it. We'll see.
10 degrees.
Yeah, that's a slight upgrade. Okie dokie. So, what we're going to do here, I suspect that's subsurface. Make sure you don't lose that.
Subsurface, as in not good.
No, as in it's below the running face.
Okay.
You know, so a big peak will then scratch out what you've got there.
Right.
A dip won't really cause any
fine.
issues, but we will address it.
So what are we measuring here?
Camshaft. Not the journal. Not the lobe. Yeah, camshaft journal clearance. So your journal, same as on a crankshaft, as these.
Right.
The bit that opens is called a lobe.
Yeah.
And do you have new lifters?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Because, well, we'll go
They
through
were
one.
hardened lifters.
Yeah. Because
Recommended.
new cam means new lifters or machine
Yeah.
lifters. The two have to run in together. You can never mix them up once they've run in.
Okay, did not know that.
So there is a running in procedure, but we can go through that with time. It's a bit of a tough one too. There's a lot of information going on. I could sit here and talk another language and it won't go in. So we'll go through it incrementally, if you get what I mean. Well, that's how I learn anyway. I can't take in too much information at once. Okay, so the front
Yeah.
is 1.6. I'm going to call that. So 7.5 plus 15, 91 and 6/10. So sorry, let's say that out loud again.
1.6916, was it?
6 9. So let's just stay at the 9 for now. 9.1 and 6/10.
Yeah.
It's a lot of 6s and 9s and 1s. Correct, because 25, 50, 75 plus 15 plus 1.5, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And number 2, we're down to the 0 to 1 now. That back one's going to be a bit of a pain to measure, but we will have something to do that job. So 0.0860.
Is that 1 point?
No, 0.0. Yeah. Sorry, 0.8.
0.8. Yeah.
0.860.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say, otherwise that's really small.
Yeah, 0.860.
Okay.
Which you probably find, because we're everything I've got here is imperial. It's going to be an on-the-nose metric number, 22mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's tough. You'll find, and the front is 43mm.
Yeah. Okay.
But unfortunately, I do everything by imperial, and most machine shops do, and most I find metric just gets lost. I mean, most clearances you start to learn in and thou. You know, so your bore clearances is 1 to 3 thou, and all of these, and then you start saying, well, 42mm 0.6, and it's just
stick to 1.
Yeah, it's a bit of a funny one. Right, cam tunnel, so then that was 22, sorry, 42, so we're back down to the old wooden set.
Be ported or not? Do you think there's any real
I think
benefit? People say on these engines that's where you get the
power, yeah.
best.
Yeah, I think we'll go into a little tickle. Let's not call it porting. Let's call it finishing. Hand finished.
Hand finished.
Yeah. So yes, and we will go through that with you. But I think that will be another episode in itself.
Okay.
So 2 and 3 are the 0. Interestingly, that crosses up to exactly the same measurement that the last time we used this, which was con rods with shells. Which is interesting. Pin. So cam tunnel is 1.695. Number 1 cam tunnel, 1.695. So that's clearance.
3-4.
Yeah.
0.
Someone who can actually do head maths very quickly.
Well, not always.
Well,
If it was a quiz question, you had to maybe do it quickly. I'd be like, what?
yeah. Yeah, a lot of the young ones, I shout numbers at them and they're just, what? That's a cam tunnel. Right. So, number 2 cam tunnel is 0.862. So 2 thou clearance, which I'm guessing is within book spec. Makes sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 thou, that's pretty normal. So we will hand finish some of this stuff before it all goes together.
Oh, really?
The cam tunnels, you know, we'll just pick off the high spots.
Okay.
But we just check, test, spin things.
So you'd recommend I bring it back and we do it rather than me just...
Yeah, because once you've done everything else, we'll have to give this another final clean.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a best process, best practice.
Okay.